Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of October. I hope you are well. I'm using the Llewellyn for you today. What do I have to tell you? I don't think I have anything I have to tell you. If you haven't seen these videos before, I structure them slightly differently to the main monthly reading, in so much as we are looking for the lesson, right? Kind of coming at these things a bit sideways. I believe that there is wisdom or a lesson contained within every experience or interaction that we have, provided we are open to seeing it. And sometimes we're not, because we get very bogged down with the day-to-day stuff in our 3D existence. So it's an exercise in perspective, is what it is. And what I'm going to do is pull 3 cards and see where you are right now, like an energetic snapshot, if you will. And from there, we will look at the reason why you are in this energy at the moment, right? What is trying to be shown to you at this time? Sometimes it's trying to give you some insight into yourself. Other times it's trying to clear something out of your life, bring something in. We won't know until the cards hit the table. But I find with that broader perspective, it's easier to navigate all the little challenges that appear in front of you on the day-to-day, sort of keeping your eye towards the horizon, So we will close out with 3 cards of advice. I hope that makes sense. It's a practice of looking at your life from a different angle, right? And when you start to make that part of your weekly practice or your monthly practice, you find that those things that seem like they're really challenging, really difficult, actually, you can just kind of hop over the top of them. Keep the goal in sight, which is, ever moving forwards. Meliora, as it were. So, excuse me. Wind's blowing all the smoke into the room today, so I'll have to close the window in a minute. But let us get 3 cards for Virgo. Where is Virgo right now, please? We have the 6 of Swords. We have the Knight of Wands. Ooh, I like that very much. Let's get one more. Cards behave themselves. One more card for Virgo, please. There we go. That's the one. 5 of Cups in reverse. Let's shut the window. Actually, it's freaking cold. We have the 3 of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So the very first thing to note is that there is no major arcana appearing in your current energy. Now, that's not to say that you're not doing something properly or out like that. Like, no, major arcana are big universal forces that are working on us all the time, trying to push us in a particular direction. The minor arcana are the things that we do in the day-to-day, often in reaction to those big universal energies. So the fact that you have all minor arcana here speaks to the fact that you are doing things, right? You're not just sitting there and letting the world happen at you. You are actually being very proactive at this time. And I like where you're going with this. The 6 of Swords here is a card of moving away from difficult circumstances. And Lord knows you've had enough of those to deal with recently. But because it's the sword suit, it's very cerebral, it's very intellectual, Sometimes you can see the swords as painful experiences, And if you look at it that way, you may be moving away from the experience itself, but you are taking what you have learned with you in the boat, right? There's a definite sense of movement here. And I feel like we've seen this happening over the last couple of months. Well, actually, over the course of this whole year, really. I think it started around March, April time, where you kind of returned to yourself and started making changes, There was the possibility of staying stuck and staying stagnant where you were. And we all know people who have done that, they never seem to quite come back. But come back you have. And this last couple of weeks of October sees a distinct movement. I mean, it's possible that you might be even relocating, something like that. But there's always a sense of moving from choppier waters into calm. And so whilst this might refer to your external environment, I think it refers more to your internal environment. You know, you have been coming to a place of peace for some time now, Virgo, and it's been very hard won. But nevertheless, it is here. Now we have this Knight of Wands here, Sagittarian energy. And, you know, you could have a Sagittarius in your midst, but actually I don't feel that for you at all. It feels more of an energetic position. And what the Knight of Wands is very, very good at is being very present. Now, that is something that takes time and practice for people, conscious practice, I think. And it seems to me that you are here as you are leaving behind what has gone before. The ability to be more present is coming along almost as a corollary of that, you know, but it's very consciously done by you. This is the thing. As well as very methodical, very Virgo-like anyway. It's like, I am here. And with the experiences that you've had in the last couple of years, it's almost like an endless stream of possibilities were available to you to allow your life to kind of drift away from you a little bit. And what we see here is conscious presence. I am going to be here. I'm going to enjoy every moment. I'm going to make the most of every moment because I know the value of every moment, you know. We have the Five of Cups here, but I'm so happy to see it in reverse. This way round, it is loss, it is grief, it is those things that have gone and that we stand and we grieve for, you know. Although grief is a process, and I think that this is one of the lessons that you have been learning this year, Virgo, is that grief is not and never has meant to be a consistent state of mind. And it would be easy for you to sit in a consistent state of mind with this Five of Cups. You know, we have 3 cups fallen over and 2 cups behind the chap there. He's not noticed because he's staring at these, grieving their loss. You know, he cannot imagine his life having any kind of meaning without those 3 cups in it. He's not seen the 2 behind. Now, for me, when you see the Five of Cups in reverse, it does indicate a moving out of that kind of energy. It is, if you will, like putting your head up and stepping back and going, I have lost 3, but 2 remain. These are my 2. I've got 2 hands. I can carry these 2 where perhaps I couldn't carry the 5 before, you know. Grief is a process. That's why there are stages of it, right? And you are moving through the process. It's a very healthy set of cards, actually, in the here and now. And it seems like every moment, you're taking every moment as it comes. And there's I'm getting this. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm kind of being given kind of like a sensation, and it's almost just kind of like cream, just kind of rolling down things. It's almost like you're taking every moment as it comes, yeah, every situation as it comes, knowing where you have come from, not quite knowing where you are going, but just kind of rolling with it. And there's this smooth, kind of peaceful feeling about the movement of this cream as it's kind of going down and around and exploring different things. It's like there's a patience that you have with yourself that you did not have 6 months ago, a year ago, definitely not 2 or 3 years ago. You know, it's gentle. There's a gentleness that you are experiencing toward yourself at the moment. It's very compassionate, and it's taking you in the right direction. Yeah, that's how it feels. You know, it's just I don't know why it was that one, that particular picture or sensation, but there's an openness to new experiences too. because you are ready for new experiences. And you might not be, you know, quite up to going off and adventuring, but certainly as the things come along, they're being gently assimilated into your life. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with this. This is okay, you know, every day as it comes. And sometimes, some days they might feel a little bit more like this than this, but it's a, you know, this too shall pass. I will just navigate through this. It will be okay. Hi, my Virgos. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously. Oh, thank you. Yeah. We have the World card at the bottom of the deck. Now that, it's actually the universe in this deck. That's what it's called. But it is the World card, right? It signifies completion. It's things coming to an end. And I think we spoke about this quite a lot in the 6-month overview, actually, Virgo. It's like things would gently complete and a new story would start to open for you. And I actually did say, I hope that you're not hoping for a quiet life, because it seems like the universe has some plans for you. But first, the process must be honoured, and that is where you are at the moment. That is what you are going through. And why? Well, because there is so much within you to discover at this point. We have the Moon and we have the Three of Swords. Now, the Three of Swords is pain. In the Llewellyn deck, I don't really see this anywhere else in any of the other decks that I've got. There is an aged, historic quality to this Three of Swords there. What we usually see is, you know, a great big bleeding heart, and it's got swords through it, and they look razor sharp, and no one needs to have that tarot card explained to them. You know, even complete novices, you show them the Three of Swords and they go, ooh, because everybody knows what it's like, that feeling where your heart has just had a sword thrust through it. You know, whether through the actions of someone else or a loss, you know, we know what that feeling is. But in the Llewellyn here, we do not have her heart. We have somebody sat here on the edge of a pool, and she's staring into the water. And the swords are placed in the ground around her. Now, the important thing about this is that at a point where she feels ready, she can stand up and walk away from those swords and not carry them with her. This is important. It's one of the reasons I absolutely adore this deck here. So what we do not have is fresh, visceral pain. Sword stabbed straight through the middle there. We have the pain of ages. You know, the most recent experience that you had that caused you to be in a Three of Swords moment, I do not feel was the first in your life, Virgo. I think that this is something that you have experienced a number of times, and perhaps for some of you over and over and over again. And so these swords, being plunged into the landscape rather than into the person, give you an idea that you know, it is possible to move away. It is possible to move away from what they represent. Now, you will take the memory of it with you, but the processing that goes with that will allow you to, when you are ready, to stand up and move away from it. Now, I've spoken, you know, a number of times about the wisdom that comes from suffering, really. And it's not to say that suffering is anything that we should aspire to, because, you know, that's nonsense. Although I do remember reading a story once about a very vain and arrogant and beautiful young man who wanted to learn to play the violin. And he wasn't very good at it, and he was very cross, and his mentor said, in order to learn to play the violin from your soul, you must suffer. And so the young man did suffer, and over the years his vanity disappeared and his ego disappeared, and he walked around in trampy clothes, and he had, you know, this huge long beard and very unkempt hair, and his music reduced everyone to tears with its beauty. I actually can't remember how the story ended. I don't know. I had a sudden flash that it might be Oscar Wilde, but I've probably just plucked that from nowhere. I don't know where it is. Anyway, this idea that we become closer to our soul through suffering is not one that I particularly enjoy. It's not one that I'm particularly happy with, but there is insight that comes. There is a higher level of awareness, I think, that comes from being in that state. And perhaps it is at the moment that you're starting to put a few things together, like you're seeing the old, pre the last one, the old wounds sort of coming to the surface, allowing you to process them. You've had a great deal to deal with in the last year, and I feel like you have done a lot of work on that now. But as that door has opened, a willingness to explore that has opened, it's possible that other things have come up too. The last card that you have for why you are in this energy at the moment here is the Justice card. Now, the Justice card talks about consequences and karma and that sort of thing. And I really do have to emphasize that karma is neutral. Right? There's a complete neutrality to karma. It is merely the consequences of a thing. Good consequences, bad consequences. It is what you make of it ultimately. And if you're interested, there's actually a video on the channel by a friend of mine who explains it beautifully in 16 minutes, nails it down in a way that I've never seen anybody else do before. So if you're interested, just go and have a look in the recommended viewing there. But justice is also about fairness and equality. I've actually been wrestling a little bit with justice of late. It's actually come via my Sagittarian daughter, who's had more than her fair share of shitty things that have happened to her recently. And she stood looking at me with tears in her eyes and she said, "Mum, it's not fair, I don't deserve this." And I said, "No, you don't, but let's kick that to one side at the moment, right? Let's not think about things in terms of what you deserve and what you don't deserve, because the wheel is always turning, right? Sometimes you're on the up, sometimes you're on the way down." I said, "You were simply having an experience. That's it. You're having an experience. Make this thing neutral and then step back from it and look at what you are learning from it. It's all about pulling yourself out of what is happening right in front of you and pulling back and understanding that immediacy and even things like I deserve this, I don't deserve this, all that, they're very 3D concerns. Your soul is something much older than that. And I wonder, Virgo, if you have been wrestling with this idea of justice and how it applies in your life, and whether you too are coming to a similar sort of conclusion. That you are having an experience. I can't tell you how this too shall pass was a mantra for me for a very long time. Every time everything felt like it was getting a little bit too much, a little bit too overwhelming. This too shall pass. Can't stay like this forever. Or just roll with it. It's fine, Justice is the ultimate card of bringing balance to yourself. And you have been so imbalanced by your experiences, Virgo, in the last few years, and possibly on a deeper level for many, many years before that. And so, rather than looking at justice and asking whether it's fair. It's a case of looking at justice and going, how, in the light of these experiences that I've had, do I find a way to balance myself? And the answer for you is really looking to see what wisdom has been imparted to you through the experience of everything that's happened to you over this time, you know? We're in Mercury retrograde at the moment, and will be until, I think if you're in the UK, it's the 18th of October. It'll be the 17th if you're in the US. But the energy of the retrograde actually continues for 2 weeks after it stations direct. So, you know, for the rest of October and somewhat into November, this energy is still at play, even though it is starting to wind down. But there are some activations of Mars and Pluto, and Eris as well, that are designed to bring up things that are very deeply rooted, you know, pull them right out so that you can see them. And in fact, there was I did a video for it for the patrons on Patreon about how this particular T-square between Mercury, Pluto and Eris was designed to reveal to you the things that have always been there, but that you have not seen. And energetically, cosmologically, it looks like these are kind of being brought up for you at this time. Now, this is not a depressing thing. I know we've got the Three of Swords on the table and, you know, that sort of thing. You know, I don't feel you approaching it in that kind of way. It's almost like turning over rocks. You know, what's this say here? You know? But with the fact that we have the universe, the world card here right at the end, the shadow card, that is the theme for the whole reading. It's like this path of healing that you're on doesn't stop with what happened in the last 2 years. Right, it's pulling everything up, all of those things that have always existed, so that you can look at them, release them, right? Be healed. Got a whole heap of other things go through my head there, but we'll be here for an hour if I let all of those out. Let's get you some cards of advice. You know, the energy of this time, the retrograde and everything, it's not about making huge strides forwards with things. It's about standing still and kind of looking back, examining that which you haven't seen, but looking at it from a different perspective. And that seems to be what you're doing here, Virgo. Not in a depressing way, not in a, you know, I must isolate and keep myself away from the world, but just that sort of slow, gentle, creamy progression just down over the fruit, you know, just exploring every little crack and crevice as you go down, and pulling all of the information that you get into this new awareness that you have of the fragility of life, of the fragility of the moment. You know, it's about not taking anything for granted. Oh goodness, all of these. Right, what do we have here? Yeah, so we have the Lover's card, card of Gemini. We have the Eight of Wands, which is a Sagittarius card, and then we have the Page of Pentacles. And it does feel like it's a preparing the ground, because this Page of Pentacles is a new start in some way. I always see the pages as like a new start or a change in direction in some way, right? And with it being Pentacles, which I see as energetic currency, it's like that which you invest, your time, your care, your effort, your money, your love, all of these things, like where you currently invest it and where you could, if you'd cleared out, if you have the opportunity to clear out and release a lot of old patterns, old cycles, old feelings about things, where you create the space for a new type of investment somewhere else. We've got this Eight of Wands, which is interesting because it always seems like conversations. It's like communication, but two-way communication. I'll come back to that one in a second. But the Lovers card is a card of manifestation. Yes, it's a card of union and harmony and all that kind of thing, but it's a choice for me. It's like what you choose to fill your life with. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we choose. We choose the way that we see things. We choose the way that we react to things. And most people are unaware of the fact that we make 1,000 decisions about 1,000 things every day, and often on such a low subconscious level that we're not even aware that we're doing it. And that's how we get stuck in patterns of things, you know, because we just do things and it's like, well, obviously that was the way to react to it. And sometimes you'll come across someone who goes, I would have done it differently. And you kind of look at them and go, what, how would you do it? Well, it's about this different level of awareness that you bring to every situation that's in front of you. But the question for you is, what do you want your life to be filled with? I think that you're starting to get a better idea now than you have had all year. And with the presence of the Lovers card, it's like, be aware that your thoughts have weight. And whatever you seek to bring towards you, you know, whether it's through a daydream or just the mindset, you're creating fertile ground for that to come through. So be aware. Tell me about this Eight of Wands, please. Thank you. What do we have here? We have the Five of Wands and we have the Knight of Cups. And the Two of Pentacles, yeah. I think there's a message is just to be gentle with yourself and the way that you speak to yourself. Because it is a two-way communication here, but it's between you and your subconscious, or you and your higher self, you know. Just you and you. And we're not all like one flat thing all of the time. You know, the many facets of the human experience that are contained right within this one meat sack, you know, all the time. Be aware that there will be tension, there will be resistance, because there's old subconscious programming at play underneath. I mean, that's what I think that you're going to become aware of over the next couple of weeks, for sure, and maybe a little bit longer than that. But the Knight of Cups is going forwards with an open heart. And there's a slow, dreamy quality to this Knight of Cups. I think he might actually be my favourite Knight of Cups in any deck that I've got. You know, there's this big, strong, solid steed, and then this young man on the back who just does not look like he should be able to control this beast at all. But he's taking a moment to stop and stare at the geese that are flying above. Yeah, it's like dare to dream, Virgo. And where you see yourself, where you feel yourself resisting that dreamlike quality, you know, whether it's daydreams or, you know, hope, just hope itself. Like, you need to have a stiff word with yourself. Find a way to bring it into balance. We've got the Two of Pentacles here. Because you are being prepared for a new journey. Sorry, I'm staring at this. You see the bluebells at the bottom here. You get bluebells in British woods here in the UK. And I remember reading once that bluebells will only grow on ground that has not been disturbed for 25 years. And here you are, stepping lightly over ground that perhaps has not been disturbed for 25 years, looking for ways to open up your heart to new experiences, opening up yourself to the possibility of hope, to the possibility that you can shift a lot of the energy that has been spent on overthinking and, you know, internalizing very difficult things, being perhaps over analytic to a fault over, you know, past situations, or, you know, refusing to look at them altogether. and just gently kind of teasing out this possibility of dreaming, this possibility of hope again. And it being something that you can gently accept, you know, rather than having to, you know, right, I'm going to do this thing anymore, because that isn't kind of how you work anyway, you know. It's almost like an ability to find your comfortable place within you. So that what is uncomfortable without you is less terrifying, I think. Yeah, I'm feeling all dreamy and stuff. Stop staring at these. Right, this is what I have for you. I hope that it's useful. I'm sorry that it's not like filled with awesome, you know, or everything got new shit appearing right, left and centre, but I think that this is more important, to be honest, because when the new stuff does come along, you're going to be in that wonderful position of being able to receive it. And I think that's great. I think it's ultimately far more important than the rest of it, you know. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.